So, from 250 abductions to now manufacturing human trafficking paperwork on Abrego Kilmar Garcia, which, Mr. Trump, I would be ashamed to be in your organization to know that you would manufacture and doctor paperwork and a grand jury just to get him back here, to throw him back into the El Salvadorian prison system. Which does not surprise me. You sold out American justice for the El Salvadorian justice, and you're going to do it more because you don't care about people, you only care about your pocketbook. And while you have the President Bukele in your pocket, you're going to use him these next 4 years to make a statement to the American people. You want to fuck around with the government, you want to stand up and use and abuse your freedoms. What we're going to do is we're going to stick you on a plane. Don't even have to sign documents. We'll just auto pen it for you, and then you go to jail without any questions asked. And no due process, no habeas corpus. And in this interview, it kind of shows the lengths that a government will go to state fund mass kidnappings, misinformation, and the level of immaturity inside the U.S. government. Welcome to Nazi Germany, ladies and gentlemen.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
In an interview with ABC News, President Donald Trump said he could bring Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia back from El Salvador, but he won't.
You could pick it up, and with all the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman that you say he is, I would do that.
But the court has ordered you to facilitate that.
I'm not the one making this decision. We have lawyers that don't want to do this.
But the buck stops in this office.
No. I follow the law.
Trump's comments contradict what his top aides have said about the U.S. not having the ability to return Abrego Garcia. Despite the Supreme Court's ruling that Trump must, quote, facilitate his return, administration officials said they can't because Abrego Garcia is in the custody of a foreign country. Trump officials admitted in court that the Maryland man was wrongly deported because of an administrative error.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS13.
It says MS13.
That was Photoshop. So let me
That was Photoshop. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. But I picked you, Terry. Hey, but you're not being very nice.
I didn't specifically know about my immigration status because I came here when I was 6 years old. And when I got here, the woman said, she was like, do you know why you're arrested? And I said, no, I don't. She said, because you overstayed your visa. You came here in 2013, and in 2015 you overstayed it. And I told her, I was like, ma'am, I was 7 years old. Like, I don't know nothing about that stuff. Like, I don't understand how it works. I saw a car behind me. I thought it was a normal car, and I just kept driving normally. And then he pulled me over right when I got into my friend's house in her driving lot. He stopped right behind me, and he got out his car, turned on his lights, and he knocked on my window, and he said, can you get out of your car? Why? And he told me to give him my license and registration, which I did. And whatever, it took some time. I was in shock. I didn't know what was going on. And he ended up saying, why, do you know why you're under arrest? And I said, no, I don't. Why? And he said, because you're illegal. You're an immigrant. But like, he gave me no reason to stop me, no reason for a traffic stop, nothing. And apparently they say they're trying to get my dad, but I'm here, like, not my dad, so that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Lower the window.
No!
Or I will break the window and I will pull you out.
No, you will not!
Out of the vehicle
Just
now.
get in the back seat of that car. Hey,
Officer
you've been
Schwartz,
warned.
why don't you let me? Get out of the car.
Can't touch me. Just getting my license.
Taser, taser, taser.
Move aside.
I thought it was my taser. It was my taser.
I need an RA unit. We got a gunshot wound. I know, ma'am. I know. Just try to lie still. Help is on the way.
Kid's okay.
Your baby's okay. Sparks, where is the gun?
I'm coming.
You're gonna be okay.
I thought it was my taser.
A man in handcuffs being loaded into an unmarked white van. The man, attorneys with the Bar Association of San Francisco say, was an immigrant applying for asylum, and he's not the only one leaving the courtroom in custody.
These are ICE officers coming to the court to arrest and detain individuals who are here following the law, trying to proceed with their asylum application.
In video obtained by the San Francisco Standard, another man is seen being taken away in handcuffs. Millie Atkinson is one of the attorneys who represents people before the immigration court. Atkinson says this is unprecedented.
We've never seen anything like this before, and it's really scary for people to know that, they came here fleeing violence and persecution in their home countries from authoritarian governments.
The Department of Homeland Security says anyone who entered the country illegally within the past 2 years is subject for expedited removal. A spokesperson with DHS tells us in a statement, Secretary Noem is reversing Biden's catch and release policy that allowed millions of unvetted illegal aliens to be let loose on American streets. This administration is once again implementing the rule of law.
So the government is trying to create new rules and a new process for removing people without giving them the opportunity to go before a judge.
We learned many people did not show up for their hearings on Tuesday following the news, but advocates say undocumented immigrants should still appear and say it gives them the best chance to be granted asylum.
They put themselves at greater risk for deportation because if you don't attend your hearing, you're basically abandoning your claim for asylum.
For your job.
This cop confidently approached this man and started giving him orders with great conviction, but the guy knew his rights and stood his ground. In the end, this confident cop got properly served.
We didn't call you.
He did.
Okay, we'll go talk to him.
No, I'm going to be talking.
No, you're not going to talk to me.
Yeah,
You ain't gonna talk. Don't touch our vehicle. You didn't pull us over.
Yes, I
No,
did.
you did not. We was parked here. We didn't commit a traffic violation. If you pull somebody over, you have to tell them what you pulled them over for.
You got a complaint that there's a threat.
I don't care. People don't lie. People, no, you won't. Oh, no, you will not. You ain't getting my ID.
I don't answer your questions either. You must think I'm stupid.
No, taxpayers pay for that car?
that one's mine.
That's your personal?
Yep.
It's being used in public service.
Hey, don't
Start freedom of speech. Now what?
This is freedom of speech.
But you don't have those freedoms when you're on duty. Yeah, I'm coming for your job. I'm coming for your job. I'm coming for your job.
You're dismissed. You're dismissed.
Look,
I'm sitting here. I'm
look.
freedom of speech. Here you go.
He later resigned after an investigation into his conduct.
Can I get your name and badge number since nobody else will identify themselves?
What exactly are you doing?
Can I get your name and badge number since nobody else will identify themselves?
What's your name?
Name and badge number, please.
What's your name?
I'm not going to ask again.
You're not going to ask me.
I'm not going to ask again. If you're not going to give it to me, just say you're not going to give it to me.
How about you give me your ID and then we'll talk. We'll go that route.
Well, I'm the good citizen that was walking down the sidewalk and got attacked by some of your agents.
Let me ask you a question, right? Are you a special agent? No. Okay, are you a federal agent?
Yes.
Okay. So now, you not being a special agent, right? You were working for the government.
Masks or no mask, uniform or no uniform, federal agents that have been concealing their identities have been more scrutinized by the public lately. So what is it that they're actually required to display? The National Defense Authorization Act of 2021 explicitly says that federal officers responding to a civil disturbance must visibly display both identifying information of the officer and the entity the officer works for. That can be in the form of badges and insignias. Now, there are two exceptions to the rule if officers usually don't wear a uniform or if they are part of an undercover operation. Now, as for ICE, they don't have an official uniform and they often work undercover. Now, in addition to the law, agencies also have their own policies on displaying identifiables. The U.S. Attorney General's office did not comment. They referred us over to ICE. ICE did not respond to our request for information on this topic.
Every Republican will have blood on their hands because women will now lose their lives all over this country. In emergency rooms, if you show up, they don't have to help you. But if you're a man, well, they got to do everything they can to save your life. But we're worthless to them. That is what's happening in this country. Women are now worthless.
So I have a 10-page indictment for the Trump administration. Now, it's a very lengthy indictment, I might add, but it's also very consequential to justice. See, Trump is trying to supersede the Constitution. He's trying to not, and I repeat this for everybody listening, he is trying to not be accountable for his actions or his regard for his behavior. So, Mr. Trump, in a way, I would be sorry for you, but in a way, I'd also feel bad for you. Mr. Trump, you are the antithesis of unconstitutional. You do not listen to your judges. You make your own rules. You bypass Supreme Court orders. You refuse to listen to the people. And you're on your own little personal brigade to set the record straight about your 34-count indictment in the court for fraud and misuse of financial documents. As I see it, you're kind of like having a heavy day in court because you don't want to lose all that money, so you're going to try to indict or prosecute the state attorney of New York. Mr. Trump, you are the antithesis of a man under fire and under attack, so you're going to turn the court system against them who have wronged you. So, I have a question for the cabinet of Donald Trump. Is the Constitution or the makers of the Constitution not value enough for you, Mr. Trump? Is the signatures at the bottom of that Constitution just water under a bridge? And you think you own those people? Relatively, Mr. Trump, it can be a dangerous thing, and I'm looking to have the powers that be remove all doubt. Actually, remove all doubt by removing the qualified immunity clause under the Presidential Powers Act and the Supreme Court and Congress's qualified immunity clause, because I think the evidence would show without a shadow of a doubt that jail time is very much warranted and needed. Here is the videos to prove it. Here is the videos to send you and your whole cabinet to jail.
We haven't done anything. We're a totally peaceful racist group.
I will say this. I had concerns, and I have relayed them to our federal partners. I think the manner in which some of it was handled was tone deaf for the situation. I think there's no question everybody learned yesterday just how heightened and how tensed the issue of immigration enforcement in this city is. That being said, when things are tense and heightened and spiraling out of control, you need leaders to step back and gather the facts and deal with the situation that was unfolding. And that's what we did yesterday. And it surprised me somewhat how quickly things escalated and the situation deteriorated. And we have a sworn duty to keep the people of this community safe. That doesn't go through a political filter. And so, you know, I did the best I could to learn what was happening and to get accurate information. But there were a number of law enforcement agencies involved. And it was a task force, and I didn't even know that task force was operating, that had a variety of federal agencies. So it was, I knew a federal criminal search warrant was happening, but I didn't know exactly what. And we dealt with the reality of the situation on the city street. And ultimately, you can say what you want and point fingers and blame people for different things, how it happened, whether they should or shouldn't have or whatever. But the bottom line is, if a tragedy happened at Lake and Bloom yesterday, it doesn't matter who's at fault. The community loses. The feds lose. We all lose. And we are left behind. The feds can leave. We're left behind to deal with the consequences. And what I saw yesterday as they were trying to leave with, you know, aside from just the verbal things that were being said, but with things being thrown at them, in some cases, heavily armed federal agents getting into hand-to-hand situations with people who are protesting is not good. And that's something that was quickly escalating, and it is our duty to respond and try and de-escalate that situation. And that's what we did. People from the community were saying they didn't want them there. We responded to get them out of there and to try and resolve the situation. And it was dangerous. And even later in the day, the police had to respond later in the day because some protesters that were remaining had surrounded a resident's vehicle and were, you know, damaging the vehicle and refusing to let them drive away. So, I mean, there's no question that it had become a dangerous situation very quickly, and that we had an obligation to protect the people of this city.
Abolish ICE! 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 Get the fuck out of here! Get out of here, guys! Stay back! Stay back, sir! Stay back, sir! Stay back, sir! Get the fuck out of my city! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
Let's go talk to your supervisor there, okay? Let's go identify you at the agency. Let's go identify you at the agency.
I'm not gonna make you YouTube famous, but I'm leaving.
No, don't worry about it. I'm already famous.
Infamous, maybe.
That's exactly why we do videos like that.
For what?
To identify and expose tyrants like you.
Tyrants?
Yeah, tyrants. Really? Because the moment you act the way you are acting, arrogantly, without, yes you are. Yes you are. When a member of public asks you to identify yourself, humbly say, I am such and such individual, this is my ID number. When you point your finger to your read my vest, that attitude is not gonna fly with me.
You thought about using more tact and being considerate when you talk to people?
You know what? I have every right to treat you the way I choose to. You are, on the other hand, a public servant.
So the Marxism now for the real truth. The constitutional amendments you violated. The freedom you've taken away from students attending college. The visa revoked by your state, by the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. I'm going to tell you something. You guys are really stepping up to the plate when you start walking on freedom of speech. And your constitutional violations can be very Maltese. And the condemnation you're bringing to America by your actions is quite offensive, I might add, and displays a very unique perspective. See, your unconstitutional behavior amounts to tyranny in the government. Tyranny which is taking away freedom of speech, freedom for peaceful protest, freedom of constitutionality that is magnitude of 10 times the law that you have broken, the laws you continue to break, the laws that your cabinet have willy-nilly just overlooked and tried to subvert the Constitution by stating that this is not America. You can't take away someone's visa just because they may have spoken against you, Mr. Trump. Your actions are those of carelessness, and subverting the Constitution is a constitutional crisis with magnitude factor times 50 of anything that this country has ever seen. This country was founded on the belief that all rights, no matter where you're from, are created equal. All rights, no matter where you live, are equal under the law. And that is why, Mr. Trump, I will submit this 10-page petition in July, one day after Independence Day. And I will submit it to the Supreme Court of the United States, to the United States District Attorney's Office, and to the Supreme Court of California. Whereas I, Brandon Vaughn, vehemently revoke and rebuke your behavior, and the United States District Attorney General and the United States Attorney General Pamela Bondi, your Secretary of State Marco Rubio, your Human Services Secretary, and anybody in your cabinet with leadership power will be rebuked by me. And I hope that the Supreme Court holds up the Constitution and rebukes and revokes the Qualified Immunities Act, which you held so close to you in trying to not be prosecuted under constitutional law. I hope they revoke that too, because it's time to shut down corruption, shut down inhumane treatment, and retrieve our freedom of speech, our freedom of constitutionality, and our freedom to speak and say whatever we like, and not have our visa or our immigration status revoked because of something that you may not like to hear.
Shame! 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 Back up! Yeah, back up! Back up! Shame! 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 I see you there, you little. Shame! 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 Back up! Yeah, back up! Right! That's right! Back up! Back up! You guys are... Get the out of here! Cowards! Go! Yeah, get the out! Get the out! Cowards! 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 Coward! That's right! That's right!
The committee will come to order. I'd like to welcome back Secretary Noem to the committee.
So, Secretary Noem, what is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right
let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
President Lincoln used it.
Excuse me. Habeas corpus is the legal principle that requires that the government provide a public reason for detaining and imprisoning people. If not for that protection, the government could simply arrest people, including American citizens, and hold them indefinitely for no reason. So, Secretary Noem, do you support the core protection that habeas corpus provides?
Yeah, I support habeas corpus. I also recognize that the President of the United States has the authority under the Constitution to decide if it should be suspended or not.
It has never
Let us be clear, though,
it has never been done. It has never been done without approval of Congress. Even Abraham Lincoln got retroactive approval from Congress.
The Trump administration is now detaining legal residents who have lived here for half of a century. I'm not going to stop talking about these people, because if we do, they disappear forever, and you shouldn't believe anyone who says that fighting back on immigration is bad politics. So let me give you a quick rundown of some of the most alarming stories from just the last couple of weeks. Llewellyn Dixon is a 64-year-old woman who works as a lab tech at the University of Washington. She's been a permanent legal resident of the United States for 50 years. But when she returned from visiting family in the Philippines, ICE arrested her at the airport and held her in detention for 3 months. Marcelo Gomez de Silva, an 18-year-old high school student in Massachusetts, was on his way to volleyball practice when ICE pulled him over. Marcelo was brought to the United States as a child in 2012 and was given a student visa. He has no criminal record, but when ICE pulled him over looking for his father, he was arrested and detained. He was supposed to play in the band at graduation, but he's sitting in ICE detention. Also in Massachusetts, Semeron Faria de Souza, the father of a 4-month-old baby, was pulled over on his way to work when he honked at an undercover car full of ICE agents. They arrested him, detained him, and signed a deportation order in his name without his consent, and he's now been deported to Brazil. And in Mississippi, a 31-year-old Danish man named Casper Eriksson, who's lived in the U.S. for 10 years on a green card, went to a routine appointment to finalize his U.S. citizenship. But after they discovered that he failed to file a single document more than 10 years ago, while he was still mourning the loss of his first child, he was detained by ICE. The Trump administration isn't deporting criminals or gang members. They're deporting students, neighbors, fathers, people who have lived here for longer than fascist Stephen Miller has been alive. We have to keep these stories in the spotlight, because if we don't, they'll continue using the cover of darkness to disappear people and take more of our rights. So share this video and follow me to keep fighting back.
I want to put to rest this question about Mr. Garcia and this photo that the president posted on April 21. Madam Secretary, you agree that the letters MS and the number 13 in Times Roman numeral font, that they are doctored on this photo, right?
Congressman Abrego Garcia.
No, I'm just asking about this photo.
It wasn't based off of tattoos. It was based off an entire case.
And I'll accept that
case against him.
For the purpose of this question. You agree, though, that this is doctored. Is that right?
The same protocols that are
Madam
applied
Secretary,
to every
I want you to have
with
credibility,
law enforcement.
and I want you to be taken seriously. Is this doctored or is it not
Sir,
doctored?
I am taken quite seriously.
Is it
because
doctored
I
or not
approach my job
doctored?
with the importance that the president has given me to do
I understand.
my job.
Is it doctored or not
One thing
doctored?
that's important to remember is that every single time a case is built,
Madam Secretary, I have a 7-year-old, a
same
6-year-old, and a 3-year-old. I have a bull detector. I'm just asking you, is this doctored or not doctored?
Sir, the protocols in the case built against
Can you
Abrego
answer the
Garcia
question?
were exactly the same.
Madam Secretary,
I don't have
you're-
any knowledge as to that photo you're pointing to.
Okay, can you
I
take
don't,
her,
sir.
can you show her the photo? Walk her the photo down there. No, that one. Please take a look at this photo. It was tweeted by the president on April 21. It's been hanging out there for about a month.
So what is your point?
My question is the numbers and the letter MS-13. Could you look at the photo, please? It's right in front of
Are
you.
you saying Abrego Garcia is not a wife
No,
beater?
no, ma'am.
That he's not a criminal.
Ma'am,
He's not a human trafficker. And he's not a member of MS.
You vouched for Mr. Garcia when your team said, ma'am, you vouched for him when you said he was mistakenly deported.
Sir,
I didn't vouch for him.
I did not say
In that
He should
photo,
have been deported. Absolutely.
It's so
There was
telling
never
that
a
you
mistake
won't look at the
deported.
photo.
No, she did not. That is not what happened.
That
is not what happened.
Okay?
What?
Hold on a second.
Give me your contact information right
No,
now.
I'm going to give you time to speak to you.
Hey.
That's what I'm going to do.
We got you.
No.
I got you.
You're
You're okay.
I don't have to.
You're okay. You're okay. You're going to be okay.
I'm a federal officer. We're here checking on something. We have the right to check. I'm
Can I
giving
see
you.
a warrant?
I'm not resisting.
Stop resisting.
You harboring rioters in the office. So there's not a problem. Let's walk inside. Let's walk through.
For what?
Let me see what's in here. Let's go. Come on. Come on. Hold it there.
I had with the ICE agents. I was a federal prosecutor for 10 years right there. I worked with the Department of Homeland Security. I worked with ICE agents. I worked with Homeland Security's investigations. I have never seen any plainclothes officer wearing a mask. And I asked them, why are you wearing a mask? One person told me, because it's cold. I asked him if he would testify to that under oath, and he walked away and wouldn't respond to me. Another person admitted that they're wearing masks so that they are not caught on video. And my question to them is, if what you are doing is legitimate, is lawful, is totally above board, why do you need to cover your face? Law enforcement officers do not cover their face. And in fact, the Trump administration is cracking down on universities for allowing protesters to wear masks. So apparently it is not okay to wear a mask if you're protesting the government, but it is okay if you are the government to wear masks and in order to shield your face from the public.
Protesters confronting ICE agents after a surprise raid on a popular Italian restaurant in San Diego. Agents setting off what appeared to be flashbang grenades to disperse crowds around their vehicle. This witness asked not to be identified, fearing retribution.
This isn't freedom. This is fascism.
DHS saying the devices allowed agents to leave as safely as possible and that officers were executing search warrants for violations of hiring and harboring illegal aliens, arresting 4 subjects illegally in the U.S. It comes as NBC News has learned top Trump aide Stephen Miller held a meeting screaming at ICE officials to arrest more undocumented immigrants, according to 2 sources who spoke with attendees. Miller setting a new quota of 3,000 arrests per day to include more than just migrants with criminal records. President Trump says he's keeping his campaign pledge to reverse Biden's border policies. But there were protests after an 18-year-old high school junior was arrested on his way to volleyball practice. DHS says they never intended to apprehend him, but discovered he was in the U.S. illegally while looking for his father.
Just with the 10-page indictment, Mr. Trump, these people are fighting back against Nazi America, a word you don't like. But Nazi America is exactly what you are producing. The Nazis were kicked out of Germany. Nazis were basically murdered because of what they did to every woman and child and how they were living, and the slavery tactics of that said country became the wooing call for no more socialism, no more injustice. So, Mr. Trump, you are now the character, you are now the sitting character of Nazis. Your deplorable actions have left me to wonder how much of a Nazi America are we going to have to live through with Pam Bondi, Attorney General of the United States, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and all those other government officials in your jurisdiction. You have yet to prove that you're a reliable or responsible human being, so I'm going to process this with 2 words. Unconstitutional behavior.